Zimbabwe, land of my people, land of beauty, land of struggle. A place where the sun rises over vast savannas and sets behind majestic mountains. A land rich in culture, history, and spirit, but also a land that has seen its fair share of hardship and pain. For years, we lived under the thumb of Robert Mugabe. His rule was marked by oppression, economic decline, and a stifling of freedoms. The dreams of many were crushed under the weight of his dictatorship. But in 2017, something changed. Mugabe was gone. The streets erupted in celebration. There was a sense of relief, a collective exhale from a nation that had been holding its breath for far too long. A new era was dawning. The air was thick with anticipation and the promise of a brighter future. People began to believe that change was not just a distant dream, but a tangible reality within their grasp. And at the forefront of this new dawn was a young, charismatic leader, Nelson Chamisa. He emerged as a beacon of hope, a symbol of the new Zimbabwe that many had longed for. Chamisa wasn't some old, out-of-touch politician. He was young, he was vibrant. He represented a new generation, one that was ready to take the reins and steer the country towards prosperity. He spoke the language of the people. He gave us hope. His words resonated with the masses, igniting a spark of optimism that had been missing for so long. In 2018, he ran for president. He promised change. He promised to rebuild the nation, to restore its former glory, and to create opportunities for all. He promised a better Zimbabwe, and people believed him. His vision was clear, his passion undeniable. The crowds that gathered at his rallies were a testament to the hope he inspired. For the first time in decades, Zimbabweans dared to dream again. Could this be it? Could this be the moment we had all been waiting for? The possibility of a brighter future seemed within reach. Could this be the end of our struggles, the end of the hardships that had plagued our nation for so long? The questions lingered in the air, but the hope was undeniable. Could Nelson Chamisa be the one to lead us to the promised land? The excitement was palpable. The energy was infectious. Everywhere you looked, there was a sense of renewed purpose and determination. Hope was a dangerous drug, but we were all high on it. It coursed through our veins, giving us the strength to believe in a better tomorrow. The journey ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, we were ready to face it with courage and optimism. The 2018 election was a turning point in Zimbabwe's history, a moment that many believed would usher in a new era of democracy and change. Millions of Zimbabweans came out to vote, driven by a collective hope for a better future. The lines were long, stretching for miles, but the spirit among the voters was high, filled with anticipation and optimism. Hope was on the ballot, but something went wrong. The results were delayed, causing anxiety and suspicion among the populace. Then they were disputed, leading to widespread unrest. The ruling party, ZANU-PF, claimed victory amidst the chaos. But the people knew deep down that something was amiss. We knew we had been robbed of our democratic right. The sense of betrayal was palpable. Nelson Chamisa, the opposition leader, refused to accept the results, standing firm against what he saw as a blatant theft of the election. He challenged the results in court, hoping for justice and a reversal of the fraudulent outcome. But the courts, still under the influence of the old guard, ruled against him. The dream of a new Zimbabwe was shattered. Hope turned to anger. Anger turned to despair. Had we come so far only to be denied again? The question lingered in the air, a haunting reminder of the struggle for true democracy. The fight for a fair and just Zimbabwe continues as the people refuse to give up on their dream. Despite the setback, Chamisa refused to give up. He knew he had the support of the people. He traveled the country, rallying his supporters. He spoke out against corruption. He demanded reforms. He became a symbol of resistance. He was the people's champion, the voice of the voiceless. He gave a voice to the millions who felt marginalized and forgotten. But the fight was far from over. ZANU-PF, desperate to cling to power, unleashed its full might against Chamisa and his supporters. Intimidation, violence, arrests. The movement for democratic change, the party Chamisa had inherited, was fractured. Internal squabbles and power struggles weakened the opposition. Chamisa knew he needed a fresh start, a new vehicle for change. And so the Citizens' Coalition for Change was born, a party for the people by the people. The color yellow became a symbol of hope, a symbol of defiance, a symbol of the future we dared to dream of. The people rallied behind the new banner. The energy was electric. The fight for a new Zimbabwe was back on. Section 5 Yellow fever sweeps the nation. The CCC, under Chamisa's leadership, became a force to be reckoned with. They challenged ZANU-PF in by-elections, winning a significant number of seats. The people were sending a message. They were tired of the old ways. They wanted change. The yellow wave was sweeping the nation. People from all walks of life, young and old, rural and urban, were united under the banner of change. Could this be the beginning of the end for ZANU-PF's decades-long rule? Section 6. Cracks in the foundation. But as the 2023 election approached, cracks began to appear within the CCC. Internal divisions and power struggles, the same demons that had plagued the MDC, re-emerged. Factions formed, accusations flew. The unity that had been their strength began to crumble. Was this just a case of growing pains, or were these deeper, more fundamental differences? The optimism that had fueled the CCC began to wane. The people watched, confused and disheartened, as the party they had placed their hopes in seemed to be tearing itself apart. Section 7. A House divided. The 2023 election was a disaster for the opposition. The internal divisions within the CCC had taken their toll. ZANU-PF, despite its own problems, was able to capitalize on the chaos, claiming another victory. The dream was shattered. Again, the blame game began. Fingers were pointed, accusations were hurled. The party was in disarray. Was this the end of the CCC? Had the hope for a new Zimbabwe been extinguished once again? Section 8. The fall of a leader. It was a moment that many had anticipated, yet few were truly prepared for. And in the aftermath of the election, the calls for Chamisa to step down grew louder. The streets were filled with voices demanding change, a cacophony of discontent that echoed through the corridors of power. His critics, both inside and outside the party, blamed him for the defeat. They pointed fingers, dissecting every decision he had made, every strategy he had employed. They argued that his leadership had become divisive. The once united front of the party was now fractured, with factions forming and loyalties shifting. That he had surrounded himself with yes men, advisors who echoed his thoughts rather than challenging them, creating an echo chamber that stifled innovation and progress. That he had lost touch with the people. The very individuals who had once rallied behind him now felt abandoned, their voices unheard and their needs unmet. Chamisa, facing mounting pressure and disillusioned with the infighting, made the difficult decision to step down. It was a choice born out of necessity, a bid to preserve what little unity remained within the party. The man who had once been the symbol of hope for millions was now a figure of controversy, his legacy tarnished by the unfulfilled promise of change. His departure marked the end of an era, a sobering reminder of the volatile nature of political leadership and the heavy burden it carries. Section 9, a new path. So what now for Nelson Chamisa? What now for Zimbabwe? The fight for democracy is never easy. There will be setbacks, there will be disappointments, but one thing is for sure. The desire for a better future burns brightly in the hearts of the Zimbabwean people. Will Chamisa return to lead the fight? Will a new leader emerge from the ashes of the CCC? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. The struggle for a free and democratic Zimbabwe continues.